Hello everyone and welcome to Helix Cloud Games. My name is Richie and this is CloudQuest, a cloud gaming show where we take a deep dive into one particular topic. This week we're talking about who is going to be the next big player in cloud gaming, and joining me this week is Mr. Chris.
Hello gamers, hope you're well, ready for a cloudy discussion.
Cloudy indeed. But before we get into it, make sure if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon for notifications when all of our great shows go live. Every single Monday we bring you XPass, where we check out everything in the green side of gaming in the clouds, from Xbox to Microsoft Xbox Game Pass. Every single Tuesday, when I don't mess up my intro, we bring you Talking the PS, a PlayStation news show. Then we have our first looks and live streams. And you can also get early access to this. This intro's went off the rails. Like, I don't.
Blah, blah, blah.
There's something about
Words.
Something about CloudQuest, because last week, before we get into the show properly, YouTube decided to just not push it to anyone, and I think it's thrown me.
It's
It is.
pulled the rug out from under you. The episode didn't go into the algorithm. No one got notifications, and now you can't even say the word.
It's in the back of my mind, gnawing at me. You know what can fix it though? Our new members, Edward Jeffrey and Doc Holliday. So thank you very much, where they get early access to this very show. Brought it back round.
Yeah, they do.
So then, Chris, last week we talked about Amazon Luna potentially not long for this world, although no one watched that episode, unfortunately, because of YouTube. I will moan about this a lot. I'll get over it soon enough, and we know Google Stadia's going around. It kind of leaves... Yeah, I'm a total milkshake brain. If you don't get the reference, watch Talking the PS. You should watch that. You should watch Talking the PS anyway. It's great. It's a great show. But it feels like there's a gap opening up in the cloud gaming market for someone to step in, because Microsoft are just going to go steady away with Game Pass and continue to improve. Sony half in, half out. We talk about it all the time. Nintendo do whatever the hell Nintendo are doing. As we mentioned last week, go watch last week's CloudQuest for our breakdown of what's going on with Amazon Luna. But potentially they basically fired a load of people. Not good. But that kind of leaves, there isn't anyone really like stepping up outside of GeForce Now into the cloud gaming space. And the success of GeForce Now has shown that it is possible.
Yeah, the reason we ended up at this topic is, I guess it was after last week's conversation of that Amazon laying people off, Stadia inevitably closing in the new year, refunds are being processed. Xbox Cloud Gaming needs some improvement, but it's great for what it is. And we've seen so many articles saying that the cloud games industry is going to boom into billions and billions worth of profit and revenue year on year. And yet we seem to be in this like weird lull of a situational place where there's no one really talking proactively about it anymore. And we've been saying for quite some time, there's a lot of big companies that are still dabbling and looking to get seriously into gaming. And we've seen rumors for some time. We've seen some companies being quite active in it. We know Tencent and NetEase and such are doing their thing over in China and buying out different parts of the games industry through mergers, acquisitions, and shareholders. And Netflix have been quite loud in the last probably 2 or 3 months about game studios, acquisitions and such, which we'll probably get into. But just as a whole, it feels like there is still big tech-rich companies out there ready to splash the cash on getting into gaming. Some of them already do it to some degree. But I think what brought us around to today's thinking, in the absence of all the good stuff Google Stadia did, there are obviously lessons to be learned. Who else is out there who would realistically step into this ring and go toe-to-toe with Sony, Xbox, and to a lesser extent, Nintendo?
Google stepping into the gaming industry when they did with Stadia felt like a pivotal moment where the gaming landscape could shift in a big way. And since they've went away, it feels like now like cloud gaming is stalling. But as you said, all the analysts are predicting this to be a massive growth in part of gaming. So there's got to be some big tech looking at it, but I don't know who. Like, should we start with Apple?
And they're the obvious go. They're the guys in the thumbnail, and they're the obvious ones because one, they have so much capital to start with. Two, they have a massive customer base, and three, they already do gaming. Like, they literally have their own store dedicated to games and apps. It revolutionized the mobile industry. And then also, last year, they launched their own mobile gaming subscription service in the form of Apple Arcade. So they already have their foot in the door with a gaming subscription model. So it just seems like they tick all the boxes. And there's long rumors that Apple are working on a VR headset. And I look at that and think, well, if they're willing to commit to something as costly as VR, look at PlayStation VR 2 and the Quest Pro, just to see how much like R&D and cost goes into that thing for both consumer and development. Cloud gaming seems like an easier win, especially when they've already got their own operating systems, software engineers. Like, they have genius minds working at Apple who surely could get their head around cloud gaming and put something...
I've no doubt that Apple have the ability to do it. I think pretty much like Google showed that can be done. I think Apple there's a lot of comparison between Apple and Google in this front. Like, Google have the Play Store, Apple have the App Store. They've both got touching a mobile game, and they've both got like there's a lot hardware tech. They've both been involved in VR, and so there's a lot of like they're ticking a lot of similar boxes. Why, if they stepped into it, this would be like, okay, how everyone was looking at Google 3-4 years ago when they first started getting into it, be like, oh, these guys could really do something. The issue I have with Apple is they gatekeep their software way too much. They have this kind of, as an organization, it works for what they do, but it can also be at the detriment where they have to control everything about the ecosystem. I think this is one of the things where I think you might get a lot of game publishers. The hoops I think Apple would try to make them jump through wouldn't sit well with a lot of video game publishers, especially when some of these publishers might have already been burnt by Google Stadia. Again, they'd have the same problem starting off where low install base, is it worth the effort to port? It'd be port. You mentioned they've got an OS. That's another OS to have to port to. So it's not like where it's not like they're just moving from one like Windows to like Windows, which is effectively what the Xbox runs off. Or if like Sony with PlayStation Plus are like, yeah, I'm already porting my game to Sony's hardware.
Yeah.
This is to another very different operating system that I'd have to function on.
Yeah. And we've seen they've struggled with getting PC games ported to Mac in the past. Like, to this day, they still incredibly struggle with that. For me, though, the biggest difference, aside from all the aforementioned stuff, cash capital, tech, brand, all that thing, I really do think it hones into that the brand part of it, and purely on the basis that if Apple launch anything new, they don't have a history of bailing on it. They have a history of not pioneering it. That's definitely the wrong word, because they're usually not the first to market with this stuff.
They take a concept and mass market it.
It's like it's the only version. So like wireless headphones, they've been a thing for absolutely years. But AirPods come along, they are like the premium standard that millions and millions of people flock to. Even though there are better alternatives, cheaper alternatives out there, it's there.
Yeah.
Same with MacBooks and the damn iPhones, for Christ's sake. Like, the specifications just, and usually on a lot, like, they do some great things, but in terms of unique abilities, they're missing some things. However, you can't deny that every branch of their business, look at the watches, the iWatch range.
It's best in class still. The Android stuff doesn't review as well as the Apple stuff.
So I can't really think of any products that they've discontinued. Apple TV's starting to win loads of awards. It's got quality content on there. Like, I'm watching Apple TV. I've got a 3-month free subscription thanks to Game Pass. Out there, Game Pass subscribers can claim 3 months free right now. And I'm watching content on there. And the annoying part for me is I can't watch it on my phone, on my tablet, because it's not available on the Android store. Apple TV, I have to watch it on the Chromecast. It's the gate kept, yeah.
Yeah, the gatekeeping. That, like, you have to, in order to get the most out of it, you have to have Apple products.
Yeah.
And I do think it's anti-consumer in a way. It's like it's like I'd be happy to pay for Apple. If there's a show I wanted to watch on Apple TV, I'd be happy to pay the subscription fee. But if I can't watch it on my phone, I can't watch it on my TV, and you're putting these roadblocks, and it's like, you know what, I'm not going to bother. Like, it's just too much effort, too much stuff in the way.
It is on the Chromecast with Google TV, I will say. It's on the optional tiles. But that's the only place. So I started watching it this week, and then when I went down to London, I tried to watch it on my tablet on the train, and I was like, I can't.
Well,
I'm sure there's a way around it. Yeah, it's frustrating. But I can't think of a product they've launched that they've really not seen through. Like their phones, their tablets, their MacBooks, their hub speakers, Siri. Like, these are all brand new things. AirPods, wireless charging, MagSafe, maybe MagLock, whatever it's called, the magnetic charging. Everyone's trying to make that work, but
it's come and gone. Theoretically, it's good tech, but then it does actually increase the cost a bit. And is it?
But you see what I'm saying? Though, I'm thinking if they went into gaming,
there's no big products that they've just canned, really.
Yeah, and I feel like gaming is
not a thing obvious. I'm sure there is, but
yeah, I'm sure there's people probably watching, listening to this, going like, well, actually.
Let us know. In fact, just let us know in the comments, like what we've missed.
I mean, the iPod kind of discontinued, but that was because it was superseded by the phone.
Yeah,
the phone replaced everything.
The iPod became redundant. It wasn't like they decided, this isn't working. It's like, well, actually, the iPhone has effectively replaced it.
Yeah, and it's replaced many things. But without going down that rabbit hole, just to bring it back around, I do believe that if they got into this, I couldn't see them ever just bailing on it. Just like Apple TV, I don't think they'll ever stop doing it, because it's the one thing all these big corporations have is money and shareholders to appease, and you can't stay stagnant in the tech industry like at all. You always and we've seen that. That's why they bring yearly iterations out of these phones, because you need to have that conveyor belt of stuff coming out to keep. There's your
only
fan
so
base.
Many people you can sell a phone to, and once everyone has one, how do you can't. You have to keep growing as a company, because you have to constantly try to keep finding new ways to more profits, which is like, well, if there's a limit to how many phones we can sell every year, either we have to find a way of make these more profitable, continue to find new ways to sell them, or we diversify our portfolio. We're going to other areas of tech.
Exactly. And I think if you look at the world right now, we are in the golden age of content. There is just so much stuff out there, from premium quality to YouTube to homemade stuff. Every corner of the market is conquered in some way. The music streaming industry, it is what it is now. TV streaming, we've seen it. We've seen the rise of Disney Plus and Netflix and Amazon Prime and Apple TV, as we mentioned. Gaming is the kind of the last big thing outside of music, TV, and cinema that they haven't moved into.
Yeah.
And I just think, as you said, it's a business with shareholders. You've sold all your millions of iPhones, congratulations. You've sold all your watches, congratulations. Where do we go to make more money? Where do these greedy fat cats make more money? And then they look at the games industry going, projected growth, albeit not this year because of the COVID repercussions, but initially, the games industry in the last 30 years has just seen growth. You must look at that and be like, we need more of that pie.
Now, I say Apple 100% moving into games. I don't think it will be the same way that Google Stadia did, where Google Stadia effectively went, you can play all of the games that you would typically buy on your PlayStation or Xbox in the cloud. That was the vision they sold. I think Apple will do it very much their own way. They will build their own cloud gaming thing, more akin to what Netflix are doing. They'll take IP that they own or licensed. They'll make games. They'll put it on probably Apple Arcade. They won't announce it too much. They'll just probably push Apple Arcade further onto more devices. You'll start probably seeing it more commonplace, getting advertised with Macs. They'll probably get a deal with Ubisoft, get Ubisoft Plus on Apple Arcade. I think that's the kind of route they'll go. But again, I think Apple are this company where they'll want to do it in their own vision of it, completely separate from what the rest of the world is doing. It just feels so. I think that might be why Apple haven't made a big step into mainstream console gaming. Well, they have in the past with the Apple Pippin, and it failed. But I think the modern Apple, like...
it was always rumoured they were going to make a console, right? Like, I remember an Apple console being a thing that was discussed back in, like, the PS3, like the late PS3 era, and it never materialised. And I wonder if they've seen that wave come and go, and now cloud gaming is like, well, actually, we don't need to make anything physical. We can just add it into the Apple TV box. All of those millions of iPhones, out of the box, we'll just put Apple Cloud Gaming logo on the... Like, that's my biggest frustration about the iPhone, is it comes with so much pre-installed Apple shit that I don't want stock markets on my home screen. Do one.
Yeah.
So if that logo is like... We said that's what we... Remember we criticised Stadia, saying, why do Android phones not come with the Stadia app installed from day one? Because then you've got millions of people around the world picking up a brand new phone going, what's this? Now, I'll try it out. Never did it.
The problem is with the Apple stuff is not the stuff is pre-installed, it's the fact that you can't get rid of it.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Like, because if someone... if you get a new phone... Now, but again, Apple have this reputation for bringing this sort of stuff way too late. And, like, they'll advertise stuff like it's a revolutionary feature and go, that's been on Android for, like, 5-6 years at this point.
Just wait till the iPhone that folds in half. Samsung are on their 4th iteration now, but
I don't think we'll see that, because I think Apple, they realise they're probably already too late to the market, so they can't do the Apple thing where they go, here's an idea that we're going to make popular. I think Samsung have already achieved it.
They're going to do it though.
Folding phones are now like not this weird novelty. You do see them around quite a lot.
I can just say already, I flip, you flip, we all flip. The new Apple iFlip phone coming to get away from iPhone, iFlip. I can just see it already. Either way, we digress. But yes, Apple, I think they have everything is kind of in order for them to make this step. Realistically, if I was working at Apple, the one thing they don't have is their server farms. They don't have Azure. They don't have Google. So this is actually one where I could see Apple using Stadia tech. Like, if there was ever a deal to be brokered, 2 American companies, so that's no outside interference from China and all the other problems these companies seem to have at the moment. It's all in-house. It creates jobs, all that kind of like, all the buzzwords they'll need to do. And it will be one hell of a collaboration for them to say, we'll just help you out with this.
For any company in Apple's position, I could see them doing that other than Apple. Because Apple will want anything to do with their stuff running on iOS or some form of iOS. Stadia runs on
Stadia's
Linux.
gone in January though, so
yes, but Stadia their tech runs on Linux.
True.
Apple will want it running on iOS, so they'd want to do it in house. So I do think we will see Apple Cloud Gaming in the future. I don't think it's soon though. I think they will slowly build up the infrastructure, their cloud infrastructure, and when they're ready to go, they're ready to go. In fact, if Stadia dying is probably great news for Apple because it resets the clock a bit.
Yeah, you've gained a lot of time back without Stadia.
It also means that a lot of people have been banned on cloud gaming now. Like, Stadia's dead, cloud gaming's useless, it's never going to go anywhere. Apple can sit back and go, you know what, you just bought us 5 years.
Yeah.
Google, by abandoning this, you've bought us 5 years to build our infrastructure to the point where we can basically relaunch Stadia with a little eye in front of it.
True. That is a good point. Of course, another 5 years, however, also gives Microsoft and Sony a chance to strengthen their position. Maybe even Nintendo or Amazon Luna. So it's a risky game you play. But yeah, I do believe there's got to be some R&D going into this at the moment because, again, there's so much money. Why wouldn't they siphon off a couple million to do some R&D into Apple Cloud Gaming?
And it's also
like when all of their competitors are literally doing it. Microsoft, Google, and Amazon are all doing this. Like, why are you the only kid not at the party?
Probably because everyone else is already at the party, and Apple like to be the biggest player in the sector.
It's my party.
Apple. Yeah, I think that is the Apple mentality. It's like, this is my party. Other people will tolerate being there.
Because they get a good gift bag at the end.
If they launch a cloud gaming service, it could be better than you could get. They could launch a cloud gaming service that it plays as well as the PS5 with something similar to a DualSense in terms of quality, all for the cloud, and still wouldn't make a dent on Microsoft's numbers, never mind Sony's numbers.
Yeah.
That's I think one of the problems. They'd be scheming and strategizing to find that route that gets them to the top.
Yeah.
Oh, and unless they have that, we do this, we go to the top, we become one of the big players in that industry, I think they'll wait until they find it.
Yeah. Obviously, the risk, of course, is the games. At the end of the day, we saw that with Google Stadia, and that when Apple step in officially into this cloud gaming or the gaming industry full force, they're not dealing with like people of a similar trait. You're dealing with the behemoths that are Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox. They've been doing this for 20, 30 years, and we've seen how tough Google had it to try and crack that nut of an ecosystem. Apple have a lot of goodwill and sway and power and money, but they don't have legacy in this industry. And that, I think, is still going to be the ultimate stumbling block for Amazon, for Apple, and Google, and inevitably Netflix and every other person trying this.
Apple sell their tech as kind of this like hybrid tech lifestyle product. Mm-hmm. Gaming is an industry that is very established in what gamers are and how to sell to gamers. Nintendo understand this, Microsoft understand this, Sony understand this. It's why they're successful. Google didn't.
Yeah, very proof.
Google didn't.
We have evidence, like 3 years of evidence of them not.
Yeah, Google tried to sell the Stadia as if it was a Pixel phone.
Well, they didn't even market it like that, to be fair.
No, yeah, they didn't even go that far. But like, the kind of this assumption that good tech will find its own route to success. That kind of attitude Google had. It's not true. You have to actually sell it. You have to, especially because the Xbox and PlayStation, people are used to the box under the TV. So you not only are you selling a product, you have to sell to the people and go, this is why you shouldn't care about the box under the TV anymore.
Absolutely.
And that again, I do see Apple getting in the industry, but until they can answer them questions and know how to, I think they're quite shrewd as a company that they won't. You mentioned earlier about them never seeing very few products getting canned. It's because while they do take risks occasionally, I think they spend more time thinking them through, holding the cards close to the chest till they're ready to play. And when they play in a big way.
Yeah. I think you're hitting onto a good couple of points there. I think a 5-year time frame seems like a safe assumption.
Yeah, again, I think they'll start slowly through Apple Arcade. They'll start pulling stuff through the cloud. Probably not even say it's going through the cloud.
Yeah, so it might just be Apple Arcade. The Apple Arcade library is now playable without downloading.
Yeah.
Like, that could be a simple move.
They'll probably launch it as a feature for the next the iPhone or something, rather than going, hey, we're going to upgrade Apple Arcade. Like, and the new iPhone, you get Apple Arcade, and you don't even download the games. You can just play instant Apple Arcade games instantly with the new iPhone.
Remember,
lock it into that. Again, that's an Apple move. You're locking it into the new Apple product, so everyone buys the new Apple product to get this as your new marketable feature for that product.
Yeah. Remember how difficult it is to pick which iPhone you want because we limit the memory capacity and don't allow memory card expansion? Well, guess what? You can save on memory by not downloading the games. Stream them instead with the new iPhone, blah, blah,
terrible
blah.
business practices we use to promote other features. That's the Apple way.
You like earphone jacks? No, you don't need them. You like expandable storage? No, you don't need them.
How many phones now have earphone jacks though? They do change the industry as much as we moan about them.
It's trend setting. It's unfortunate. Like Samsung ripped the shit out of them for getting rid of the audio jack, and then what did they do? Got rid of it. They did the same for the memory cards.
1 or 2 years
got rid of it.
Yeah.
And the top notch did it as well. It's just like it is again.
I hate the top notch.
It's iteration.
But there's iteration. The notch is bad.
No, there is stuff, but I think they do tick a lot of boxes, and I think for all of the big players in the content world right now, they are probably the next one. Now Google have epically given up on it. It seemingly. Amazon, we don't really know. We did it on last week's show that no one watched. about Google, Amazon Luna and their failings and successes so far. And I'm trying to think, there's not really, like, no one else really has the server infrastructure to do it themselves, but who has the money to do it themselves? And it's like, I don't look at Samsung in a similar way that I look at Apple, even though Samsung are like the second biggest success story.
Samsung seem to just be happy to partner with other people to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, they're like doing it very, very well. There's obviously all the Chinese firms that they're doing great in terms of like affordable tech, but Tencent and NetEase are doing their own cloud gaming stuff that we might never even see in the West for a long, long time. Whether it's viable or whether it even has that interest, like that's a whole other hurdle to get over as well. And unknown
There's having
brands
server
trying
farms,
to launch.
but if you're going global, you need to have your server farms global.
Yeah, everywhere.
Which is probably why Luna isn't out in the UK, because maybe Amazon don't have the required server capacity over here to bring the service. Where in the US, that's where the majority of the servers are. Yeah.
But it does lead to an interesting one. And I think there's actually probably other episodes of CloudQuest which we could dedicate to other companies that are. I don't think. I think there's enough for them to go through that we could go in a bit more in depth.
Yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to, with CloudQuest, go through some of the smaller names that are emerging. The Boosteroids, Utomics, Shadow's still kicking around, although technically Shadow's not cloud gaming; it's just cloud computing. But there's a handful of different services that basically just give you access to a Windows PC through the clouds.
Yeah.
We'll
have to scrutinise a bit more the Netflixes and the Disneys out there and such.
Indeed. But I think that's all we have time for this week. If you liked the video, hit that like button and consider becoming a member for as little as 99p. We can get early access to this very show. If you've got an idea for a topic you want us to discuss, let us know in the comments of the video or head over to our Discord server. Link is in the description below. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Richie.
I've been Chris.
Quest completed.